In Georgia, Colin Gray, who's the father of the suspected Apalachee High School shooter, has now been charged with involuntary manslaughter, second-degree murder, and cruelty to children.
Good morning, sir. Are you Mr. Colin Gray? Am I pronouncing your first name correctly?
It was Colin Gray's son, Colt, who killed 4 people and injured 9 others when he shot up his high school. Investigators say the teenager used an AR-15 that his father had gifted to him for Christmas last year, and that this Christmas gift of an assault weapon came after the FBI had interviewed both the father and the son about some online threats that had been made to the school about a possible school shooting last year. CNN obtained the audio of that FBI interview with Colin Gray and Colt Gray, the son. Here it is.
Have you heard anybody on Discord when you were using it say something like that? Do you remember?
Like at that time?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I mean, I'm not trying to get anybody hemmed up, but like this is some serious stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, he knows how serious it is, trust me.
Because I'd hate to, my boss was like, even like, I don't know how old this information is, and if you want to wait till Monday to follow up, I was like, nah, I'd rather do it now, because
So would we.
Because God forbid something happened and I didn't do my job, I'd feel pretty bad about this.
God forbid something happened. I feel pretty bad about that. Well, imagine how the investigator feels now. He actually spoke to Colt Gray and his dad, Colin Gray, last year about the online threats to shoot up Apalachee High School. They deny that Colt Gray had anything to do with it. And then the father goes and buys his son an assault weapon for Christmas after the FBI had been tipped off that maybe his son was involved. But the father goes ahead and buys his son an AR-15, an assault weapon. And now here we are at the beginning of the school year, and the son, Colt Gray, allegedly uses that AR-15 to kill 4 people, 2 students, 2 teachers, injure 9 others. A couple of things here. That father should be charged. He should face charges of second-degree murder. He should face charges of child endangerment. For him to not keep track of what his son was doing, to essentially give his son the firearms at a time when it was clear to everybody else that his son might have been a problem, shows incredible lack of responsibility. Not only is this in terms of bad parenting, horrible example as a father, but it also shows that that father is deranged. He is a monster. He gave his son an AR-15? Really? That's insanity. And by the way, here's the second point. If our nation had an assault weapons ban, there would be no AR-15 for that father to gift to his son. Maybe the father could have given his son a handgun, and maybe the son might have still gone into school and tried to shoot people with a handgun, but the result would have been dramatically different. And maybe some of those people who were killed would be alive today. So why don't we have a ban on assault weapons? We've done it before. In 1994, the Clinton administration, with some help from Congress, passed the ban on assault weapons. It went for 10 years, and the evidence is clear. Mass shootings and school shootings during that 10-year period dropped. They went down. It is a historical fact. Then, in 2004, under the George W. Bush administration, President George W. Bush and the Republicans in Congress allowed the assault weapons ban to lapse. And when it did lapse, school shootings and mass shootings started going up again. And they've kept going up. And now, in 2022, there were more mass shootings than any year in U.S. history. And since the Columbine shooting in 1999, more than 360,000 students have been on a campus when there's been a shooting. There have been more than 400 mass shootings. And the weapon of choice is constantly an assault weapon. You look at Parkland, you look at Sandy Hook, you look at what happened in Columbine, you look at what just happened here in Georgia, an assault weapon. Why are we having assault weapons in our society? We don't need them. They are weapons of war. You don't go hunting with an assault weapon and then you just destroy whatever you're shooting at. No, you use a rifle or something more precise. There is no good use of an assault weapon in our society. They are a danger. And when they get in the hands of kids, teenagers who are loners, who have an axe to grind because maybe they were bullied or because they don't like their classmates, you are looking at death and destruction. Why don't we have more background checks? Why don't we have red flag laws? Why don't we try to keep better track of who is purchasing these weapons? Well, in Georgia, they decided, no, we don't need any of that. Well, you know what? It is time in states and nationally to ban assault weapons again. We know it works. There's no reason to be having assault weapons in our society. Give them to the military, give them to the police, and make sure that they have absolute responsibility to keep track of these weapons. But the idea that we would allow assault weapons to be in the hands of teenagers, never mind anybody else, but random people who are angry, who are upset, what is wrong with us? What is wrong with our country? There is another side to this, and that is right after the shooting and the news of the shooting came out, there were prayers that were offered by Marjorie Taylor Greene and also the congressman who actually represents that district.
Shame on anyone that is praying today instead of reacting before.
Manuel Oliver, the parent of a teenager killed in a Florida school shooting, is reacting to this.
We're coming on the air with breaking news of mass casualties after a mass shooting at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia. Right now.
Soon after the news broke that several students had been shot, Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote on X, "Please join me in prayer for all the students, staff, and families at Apalachee High School in Winder, Georgia."
They're praying. They're asking us to pray. And everyone is listening to them.
Republican Mike Collins represents the Georgia district. He wrote, "Leanne and I are praying for the victims, their families, and all students at Apalachee High School in Barrow County."
That is asking us to pray, to join his family and pray. That is not enough, and that is not working. And meanwhile, I'm here in D.C. with my wife on tour, trying to prevent these things from happening. We've been all around the country. And that school bus behind me is exactly making that statement. I was live this morning while this shooting was taking place. So what do we do now? We make the schools more secure? We have to put more metal detectors, or should we arm teachers? And of course, I'm being ironic right now. Shame on anyone that is praying today instead of reacting before.
Republican after Republican said thoughts and prayers after the shooting. Well, you know what? Thoughts and prayers don't do it now. We don't need prayers. We need action. We need something other than a belief in a deity. If you want to pray for the health and well-being of your fellow citizens, that's fine. But it's time to start praying for Republicans to come to their senses and stop being controlled by the National Rifle Association and do the right thing. Ban assault weapons, increase background checks, take some action, do something. Then if you want to pray, fine. And look, I'll be clear. I don't have a problem with people who pray. I don't have a problem with religion. I don't have a problem if you're atheist, if you're religious, if you believe, if you don't believe. That's up to you. But I do have a problem when people substitute prayers or substitute belief in a God and a deity, and they substitute that for actually doing something that we human beings can do to help one another. We can help one another. We don't have to rely on a God to stop mass shootings or to protect people. We can protect each other by taking some common sense steps. Come on, America. Enough with the thoughts and prayers. All right.